Okay, let's go ahead and finish out this floor plan. I've reopened my file. I encourage you to do the same if you don't still have it open. We are starting on page 14 of the text. That's where we are right now. And give me a second here. All right. So, hold on one sec. I gotta fix something. We have created the exterior walls, and we are now working on the interior walls. So this is the basic exterior outline. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. So now what we want to do is we want to start on that interior wall on the left-hand side. Remember that this wall out here is 25 feet 6 inches, and if we look, we can see that the interior wall, the bottom of that interior wall is halfway up this exterior wall. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to draw a multi-line, but we want to make sure that our justification is at the bottom. So we're going to right-click and click on this justification and choose bottom. What this does is it lets us draw from the bottom corner of our wall, of our midline. And now what we're going to do is we want to snap to the midpoint of that exterior wall. So I went up to my Object Snap toolbar and I chose midpoint. And from there now I can draw my wall that is going to be at I'm looking for the dimension, 10 feet. Okay, we want to be a little careful here. The dimension on my floor plan that I'm looking at is the outer wall to outer wall dimension of this room, which is indeed 10 feet in the X direction and 0 in the Y direction. We hit enter, and now let's put in that little vertical stem wall that is at 0 offset in the X direction and 1 foot 1 inch in the Y direction. And now we will right click and enter to end that command. Okay. Now we've got a door that is 2 foot 8 inches. So what we're going to do is use the offset from. So you see this, or the snap from. We're going to click on the snap from, and now AutoCAD expects us to enter a point from which we're going to snap. And we want to make sure we hit an endpoint. So we're going to click endpoint, and we're going to look at the endpoint of that multi-line is what I'm looking for. All right. Snap from. Oh, it wants me to draw a multi-line. Now we're going to snap from the endpoint of this multi-line, and we're going to offset that 0 degrees in the X direction and 2 foot 8 inches in the Y direction. And that's where my multi-line starts, except it's not. Let's try that again. I want to draw a multi-line. I just want to check something out here. If I draw up, okay. So what I'm checking out is if I draw up, I'm drawing from the outer lower corner. So we're going to draw multi-line, snap a distance from a chosen point, which is this one. And we're going to snap 0 in the X, or go up, over 0, up 2 foot 8 inches. And that puts my start point where I want it to be. I need to zoom out a little and pan down. And now what I want to do is I'm just going to extend this wall out past the outer wall somewhere. We'll trim it in a minute. Now we're going to go ahead and hit right click and choose enter. Okay, now I want to change my justification for a minute, so I'm going to choose draw, multi-line, right click, and now I want to be drawing from the top, so I'm going to change that. And I'm going to work on the rest of my interior walls. So go ahead and put your interior walls in. I'm going to start on this one, and I'm going to snap from this upper end point, this one. Try that again. Got to be careful not to click extraneously. So draw, multi-line, snap from. Want to make sure I get an end point. Want to get that end point. Click. Tell it I want to offset 2 foot 8 inches in the X direction, 0 in the Y direction. And then I'm just going to extend my wall out here beyond my exterior wall, make sure I'm horizontal, and enter. Okay, now before we go any further, I want to show you how we're going to clean this up. And what we're going to do is we're going to use a multi-line edit tool. So we're going to go up here into Modify, Object, Multi-line. And we get a variety of options that we can use for multi-lines. What we're going to use, if we look at our floor plan, all of the joins at our walls are open T's. So we're going to use this open T. And if we click on that, we just need now to select 2 intersecting multi-lines that we want to make meet at open T's, like this one and that one, not like that. Select your first one, select your horizontal one first, then your vertical one. There we go. So select the one you want to trim off, and then the one that is to be trimming. So the one that is going to trim off, and then the other one, like that. Okay, and we are done for now with that open T. So we'll right click and enter. And now let's go ahead and put in the rest of our lines. You can mute this if you want to. You don't have to. I am going to just work at putting in the rest of my interior walls. And you go ahead and do the same. And then we're going to work on some bathroom fixtures. All right. Just ignore me. I'm not going to talk much. I'm just going to be drawing. So I want to draw a multiline. I want to be 8 feet out from here. And 2 feet 6 inches high. And finish that one. Make sure that guy will work. One to be trimmed, and then the other one. Yep, that worked just fine. Okay, now we'll do the other side of that wall. So let's draw a multi-line that is offset from this point, and I want to make sure that's an end point. Nothing in the X direction, and up 5 foot 10 inches in the Y direction. And that is so not what I had in mind. Try that again. Draw multi-line. I'm going to go up from that point, 5 feet, whoops, nothing in the X direction, 5 feet 10. Oh, I know what's the problem. Remember the at symbol? Draw a multi-line, offset from that endpoint at 0 in the X direction, 5 foot 10 inches in the Y direction. Hit enter. There we go. And we want that to be at 9 feet 7 inches, but that is negative in the X direction, 0 in the Y direction. And this is at 0 in the Y direction, 2 feet in the X direction. And right click and enter. Now, if I come, let me change, I'm going to draw a multi-line. I want to change my justification to the bottom. And I'm going to snap from this corner at 0, 2 feet 8 inches. Hit enter. All right, let's try putting so that did not do what I wanted it to do. So let's go back to draw a multi-line. Let's put my justification back to the top. And now let's snap from here at 0, 2 feet 8 inches. And go up, that's better. Just gonna cross that guy and hit enter. Let's clean up my T's. Modify my object. my multi-line into open tees. This one, and it doesn't like that, and I don't like that. So let's do this side and that side. There we go. And now this one and that one. And right click and enter. All right, draw my multi-line. Let's offset from this guy. Yeah, little bitty narrow door. He's only 2 feet 4 inches. And my wall is 5 feet 8 inches long. Right click and enter. And now I just have one more wall to put in there. So we're again going to draw a multi-line. Going to offset from this guy right here at 0,5 feet and go to there. Right click and enter. And now let's modify my objects, my multi-lines, open tees. Select the one I want to trim and then the one that is going to trim it. All right, and there we have our basic floor plan. Now, what we want to do is let's save this. So let's just save it. Always a good idea to save it when you get to a good stopping spot. Okay, so now the way that we organize objects in AutoCAD and the way that we set whole bunches of properties all the same and control what is visible is with layers. And in your textbook, there's a very nice graphic on page 19 that kind of illustrates what layers are for. Typically, you'll have the floor plan on one layer, you'll have the electrical plan on another layer, and the plumbing on another layer. And there can be other layers, so usually a foundation layer. Think of these as transparent overlays that you would put on top of your floor plan in order to show different things. So for example, this is our basic floor plan. All of these layouts, everything that we build is going to coincide or comply with this floor plan. So it's going to kind of be in common, but it should be on its own layer so that if I have to change something, say in my electrical, I don't have to worry about messing up my floor plan. And you can have multiple layers all at once, visible, but you can also control which layers are visible. So let's put all of this stuff on a layer. Now AutoCAD automatically puts everything in on layer 0. We want to be a little more conscious of our layers and be a little bit more intentional about where we put things. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up into the layers toolbar, which is right here. And we're going to pick layer properties. Oh, that's this big box right here. Okay. And we get a layer properties dialog box. And you can see that the only thing that's going on in our layer properties right now is layer 0. What we're going to do, and in the layer properties box, we can control all sorts of things. Whether or not it's visible, you can freeze it, you can lock it, you can control the color, and this is really helpful so that you can have a visual indication of what is on what layer. You can also change line types. So for example, there are sometimes, there are conventions around electrical lines and what line is in a line on a drawing indicates a certain type of line that you will run in the wall. And so you can put all of that on a layer and be in compliance with that convention, and then you can change that line type all at once for everything on that layer. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to make a new layer. And you make a new layer by clicking right here where it says new layer, or you can use Alt-N on your keyboard. We are going to name this layer bathroom. So we're going to create some bathroom fixtures. And then just hit enter. You want to select so if we click on this light bulb, it will turn my bathroom layer off, but there's nothing on my bathroom layer. So if I turn off layer 0, everything goes, and no, we don't want to do that. We're going to keep it on. Okay. So now, let's pick a different color. Let's make it cyan. We'll make it this pretty blue color right here. And we'll say, okay, white is always the default color. Now you're going to set this layer as your current layer by clicking on the Set Current button. What this does is it tells AutoCAD that you're now going to be drawing on this layer. So if you think of these as transparencies that you would lay over your drawings, you would be drawing on a transparent sheet that you laid over your floor plan. So go ahead and click on that. That tells AutoCAD we're going to draw on that layer. Now, let's put in some bathroom fixtures. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom into the bathroom. A couple of different ways to do that. I'm just going to roll my mouse wheel, but you can also come over here and use zoom real time. I like rolling my mouse wheel. It works just fine. And so this little room here with the little 2'8" door and the stem wall is my bathroom. So now we're going to put in, first thing we're going to do is we're going to put in a bathtub. And we're going to put in this bathtub by using rectangles. Actually, before we do that, we are going to close the Layer Properties dialog box so that it's not in our way anymore. Now, I'm going to draw a rectangle. And that rectangle is going to be 2'6", and this will be a test to see if my room is the right size by (5'10" Rectangle. We're going to snap from that endpoint to so 2'6" in the X direction, 5'10" in the Y direction. Oh, I screwed up. What did I do wrong? I know what I did wrong. Do you know what I did wrong? I bet you do. I'll bet you do. Click. I need a negative 2'6" in the X direction and a 5'10" in the Y direction. And there is my rectangle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an inner rectangle that will be the inner profile of my bathtub. This is what makes it look like a bathtub. And we're going to draw another rectangle. We're going to snap from this endpoint a distance of 3 inches in both the -3 inches in the x direction, 3 inches in the y direction. And from there, we are going to go up 4 feet 7 inches. So okay. Our original width was 2 foot 6 inches. We took 3 inches off each side, so that's going to be a -2 feet in the x direction and 4 feet 7 inches in the y direction. That gives me my inner bathtub. Now, we're going to do a fillet, and we're going to fillet this one, that line, to that line, but we want a radius of 3 inches. There. And oops, there. We will do that all the way around. And then we're done. Okay, now we're going to create 2 more rectangles. One will be a sink, and the other will be part of the stool. What I want you to notice is these are all cyan because we have put them on the bathroom layer. Okay. So I'm going to leave those to you to create. Do create them, practice this, because I want to talk to you for just a minute about the layer visibility. So this is enough to control our layers or demonstrate this. So let's go into the layer properties. And actually right here, this will allow us to turn the bathroom layer off and on. If I click on the light bulb, the bathroom layer, so let's switch to a different layer. So now I'll be drawing on layer 0. But now I can turn off the bathroom layer by clicking on its light bulb. I can also change its properties as a bulk by again going into layer properties. And if I choose the bathroom, let's say I want to change its lines to purple. Say OK, and it changes them. So you can see how this could be useful. All right. There's also a discussion in your book about how to quickly move a whole bunch of objects from one layer to another. I'm going to leave that for you to practice. Your assignment for today, for this chapter, is to create both floor plans shown on page that start on page 30. So you want to do both floor plans A and floor plans B. And the next time I see you, I will either be answering a question or I will see you for chapter 4. Have a great night.